recording now. And those will be uploaded hopefully by tomorrow and should be available starting then as well. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to put them in the chat box. I will be monitoring that. So you can drop in a question at any point. And today we have with us Caroline Olson from OPI, who is a school nutrition specialist. Caroline is based in Great Falls, and she'll be leading our session on the Summer Meals program today. So I will go ahead and switch the presenter mode to her. And hopefully that worked. And then Caroline, you can go ahead and take it away.
Perfect. Can you guys hear me? Yay. Okay, great.
Yay.
Perfect. And then my next question is, Amelia, are you, if I put the PowerPoint on display, are you seeing, hold on, are you seeing the right thing, or do I need to switch it?
I think you have to switch it again.
Ah, okay. Thank you. Okay, how about now?
Yes, that is great.
Great. Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Just like Amelia said, my name is Caroline. Thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate it. And I don't often get to speak to, other audiences besides food service directors. So I'm really just excited for that. Let's see. I wanted to take care of a couple things to right off the bat. Let me rack my brain for them. So, yes. So I work from home from Great Falls when I'm not traveling, since we do travel a lot as specialists. So I just want to preface with, if you happen to hear dogs barking, I am so sincerely sorry. And I swear that they will stop quickly. But anyway, also, let's see. Today is just meant for sort of a introduction to the summer food service program. From your guys' perspective as librarians. And Amelia is so kind enough as to monitor the chat box, because I actually can't currently see it in my setup here. So if I don't see your question, she's gonna kind of flag me down to, address it. That's perfectly fine, Amelia. You can interrupt me at any point. Yes, please don't hesitate if you think of any questions as you go along. To ask them, as well as we'll have some time at the end to talk about questions then too. And then last thing, just housekeeping wise, is whenever I do presentations via webinar, I go through them quicker than live. So that'll probably happen, but I'm here for any questions you guys have, and hopefully, if I can just help you glean some information about summer food service program, then my goal for the day will be accomplished. So with that said, let's get started. Looks like we have quite a few people. I was kind of keeping an eye on the chat box. So I'm really excited. This seems like there's people from kind of, different areas of the state. So it says Emily Dunkley in this bottom corner. That just disregards. That is our previous summer food service program manager. Who normally would give these wonderful presentations to you guys. She really cultivated a very lovely relationship between OPI and libraries across the state. So we're hoping to be able to continue that in her stead. So what we do as an office, just to kind of zoom out and give you a big picture look, the School Nutrition Programs Division of OPI, we oversee all of these programs. That includes lunch and breakfast during the school year. The third program, the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, is, you may not have heard of, it's an exposure program for elementary age students. They get to just try new yummy fruits and veggies of any serving size, just to purely help them get exposure. Then we also have actual snacks, special milk. USDA foods are what you probably have maybe heard the term commodities. USDA foods is the new term for that, and that's the basically the free food that schools get from the government. COD Fresh is sort of a subset of USDA foods, but just strictly for fresh produce. And then Montana Team Nutrition is sort of our education arm, helping to for sponsors to meet requirements and with technical assistance. And then last but not least, what we're talking about today, the summer food service program. So during the school year, let's see, this would be last year's data. We served 20, well, I guess, yeah, 20 million. That is just so huge. I can't even believe it. Total meals to kids during the regular school year. That is a lot, obviously. Depending on the area, it'll depend on how big of a subset of that will be to students who are free and reduced price meal eligible. But as you can imagine, I mean, 20 million meals, that's a huge amount during the school year. Other school year kind of snapshots, 45.3% of Montana students are enrolled in free and reduced price meals total. So we have, in terms of districts, there are 261 that we kind of oversee. Usually that's during the school year. Our main type of sponsor are typically school districts. That's kind of why we're showing you that data. And then the number of schools, which would be like the site level, which we'll talk more about, is 815, which is a bunch. Like, that's just crazy. Wow. Total enrollment in Montana schools, 152,215. So a lot of students eating a lot of meals, obviously. And any given year, the number of schools who we go and visit on review will change, but that's still a bunch of districts to be overseeing. Some beautiful, wonderful lunch and breakfast pictures that we wanted to show, just to kind of, these are all Montana meals. This is not you will find no stock photos of meals in this presentation. These are all taken out on review or doing any site visits of meals that are actually being served in both school year as well as summer. So obviously at our office, we try really hard to encourage, healthy scratch cooking as much as sponsors can. And, but obviously, a colorful plate is pretty easy to find in Montana, as much as some people might not like to think so. There is a colorful plate you will find quite easily. Here's some more pictures, nice big salad bar in the middle, homemade rolls, and then some delicious yogurt parfaits. These are all meals that students get to eat in school. So we like to show the awesome things that sponsors are already doing, when we're talking about our programs in general. So delicious. Oh man, make me hungry. So now, to summer specifically, what exactly does the summer food service program do? So unlike during the school year, where students obviously have to pay for their meals unless they're eligible for free meals, in the summertime, everybody gets to eat for free, which is amazing. That's probably my favorite thing about summer, other than the fact that a lot of sites are outside, which is great too, is that kids get to eat for free no matter what. It doesn't depend on, where they live. As long as, keeping in mind, as long as it's not a site that has has like an enrichment program where students had to sign up for that. If we're just talking about open sites, meaning anyone can eat there, it is not limited based on where they live or submitting a free and reduced application or registering for something. Everything is free for any child up to the age of 18, which I just think is so wonderful. So if you think about that data that I talked about earlier, I'm just going to go back because I want to see how many students again. 152,000 roughly students are enrolled in Montana schools eating 20 million meals throughout the year. So you can imagine that in the summertime, that creates a pretty big, here we go, that can create a pretty big hole in a child who maybe is relying on those meals that the school provides in terms of their intake. So the goal of the summer food service program, getting tongue-tied here, pardon me. Originally, when they created the program, it was to fill that void of when those kids go home or aren't going to school during the summer. They wanted access for those students who rely on those meals, because with 43% being free and reduced, you can also imagine that quite a bit of those students, unfortunately, really rely heavily on those meals that are served at school. So trying to fill that gap during the summer, that's why everybody eats for free. it's just a really fun program that, you know, it runs for such a small part of the year, but it's so important in terms of feeding Montana kids. Obviously, they don't have access, you know, to meals at school because they don't have school. Right now, I believe this is as of last year. The total number of sponsors that we had for summer specifically was 90. And then the total number of sites was 256. And I just want to back up a little bit and explain sponsors and sites. So if you think of like, so we'll just use a school district as an example because that's what I'm most familiar with. So the sponsor is kind of like the umbrella, and usually that is something like if you think of a school district. So they have all the schools within that district, you know, they're all their own entity, their own little environment, and they have their own students, but they're all the sites basically. So if the sponsor is kind of in charge, I mean, it is in charge of all the sites that are held underneath its umbrella, essentially. That can be anything. It doesn't have to be a school district during the summer. There is, I mean, you know, the options are really endless during the summertime. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Really, you're only limited to like eligibility, and otherwise it can be, you know, the library can be its own sponsor. The library can be a site under the umbrella of another sponsor. Or we'll also talk about some other options too, just in terms of what you can do. But yes, so this, for our last year's snapshot, we had 90 total sponsors serving about 250 sites. Total meals served in 2018, 700,000 just in the summer. That is literally, oh my gosh, that is so many meals. You think of the summer season is pretty much like June 1, the earlier, you know, on the earlier side, but some sponsors do start serving summer June 1, and then all the way to August 30th, let's say. Just in that 3-month span, 700,000 meals are being served in the state of Montana to children under the age of 18. So that's wonderful. All right, another big picture slide. Here, the goal is to show you the flow of funding. So obviously, the USDA oversees the summer food service program, just like it oversees, you know, lunch during the school year, breakfast, all those programs that I showed you. The USDA is in charge of all of them. So they, you know, pass funding bills and legislation, and then when, you know, they decide on those things, that money comes from them on the federal level to us at OPI on the state level. We then take those funds and we administer them to sponsors. So that school building, that third picture of the school building is meant to represent a sponsor. So like I said, like a school district, or basically that umbrella that holds those individual sites under. So then from the sponsor level, they administer the funds to the site level. So they, you know, on both sides, both money going out, when we pay them, they, you know, they use that money for their sites individually, and from the other direction. So they claim meals for reimbursements of each of their individual sites. They kind of turn in one claim once a month as a sponsor into us at the state, and then it kind of goes in the reverse direction. So just to kind of give you an idea, I'm sure as librarians, you're all very familiar with, you know, different types of state and federal funding. It's very similar in terms of probably setup and flow. It just so happens that for us, it's coming from the USDA, and we kind of administer it to all the sponsors, and then they give it to their sites. So what can your library do? What a great question. As I said earlier, kind of talking about the different options. So number one, you can become a summer food service program site. So that means that you can kind of jump on board with an existing sponsor and in your area. Say, for example, like here in Great Falls. So this is all hypothetical. Don't, you know, quote me on anything. I'm just saying as an example, in Great Falls, if say the Great Falls Public Library wanted to become a summer food service program site, again, hypothetical, they could, for instance, they could jump on board with the Great Falls Public Schools, because, you know, they already have 9 sites, Great Falls BFPS does. They are obviously versed in, you know, in being a summer sponsor already, very incredibly versed, very experienced. They have a mobile food truck, you know, they're doing so many great things. But that's kind of what it would look like to a library if they pick that first option. They could say, reach out to Great Falls Public Schools and say, hey, can I be a site? You know, and as long as eligibility is good, which I already know that it is in that area of Great Falls, then that's all, you know, that's kind of if that's what they choose their route to do, then that's absolutely an option. And then, you know, they can proceed and be underneath the Great Falls Public Schools umbrella. Your second option is you could partner with existing summer food service program sites. So say, you know that the Head Start, like across the street from you, or, you know, a couple blocks away, you know that the Head Start has a summer food service program. We'll also talk later about how you can find out where existing sites are. Like you're thinking, I have no idea where the closest summer food service program is. That's okay. It's not usually knowledge that you kind of have on the tip of your tongue unless you have my job or you maybe have kids and you know that the park down the street has a site in the summertime. So anyway, that's your second option, is you can partner and then you can hold activities. You can kind of help while you're not becoming a site yourself, you can kind of help like drive traffic. You can help you know, hold different enrichment activities at sites. Again, the options are endless in partnering in terms of how you want to enrich the summer food service program kind of scene in your area. Option 3, and I'll probably repeat myself in talking about all these in later slides, but you can become a summer sponsor. You know, that's where you become that umbrella. And if you have, say, you know, if you have multiple locations or you're thinking, okay, I don't have a sponsor who I can really who I want to kind of join under, so I just want to become my own sponsor, then that's absolutely an option as well. And then we actually do have a couple libraries who I'll talk about later who are, I believe, their own sponsor. And then number 4 is, at the very least, we appreciate any advertising for existing summer sites, because a lot of families don't know about what's out there, you know, unless you're kind of, like I said, if you have kids in a school who advertises really well on their website or something, you might not hear about the nearest existing summer site, because just like I said earlier, any student can eat anywhere at any site, you know, that they kind of can find that's open. And when I say open, that's like the type of site that it is, not just open hour-wise. If it's an open site, then they can absolutely eat there. So these are kind of all your options of what can you do as a library in your. So talking about that first one, becoming a site. So 83% of Montana public libraries, did you know, are eligible to serve as an open summer site. Again, when I say open, that's that type of site, meaning any student can come. Nobody has any restrictions on eligibility or anything like that. They can just come and eat free meals. 92 out of 111 is pretty good. I mean, that's pretty awesome. And we'll look at a map a little bit later on. So if you're thinking, goodness, I have nowhere to start, you know, at least we know that more than likely you're eligible. And if not, you can work with us and, you know, we'll figure things out. So speaking of eligibility, that is based on 2 different things. So it can be based on either school data or census block group data. Now, I will admit I'm not like the biggest expert on census block group data, but I will still try to give you the best rundown that I can. So if you're, we kind of, as an office, we try to find how the puzzle pieces fit in the best way. So if your location of your library falls in the, basically like the district, oh my gosh, I can't think of the official term, but basically that like a school district where students are eligible to attend a school. If you are located in that zone where those, you know, where the school sources, like in terms of where kids can live, then you can use their school data, meaning their free and reduced price meal percentages, as to make you eligible as a site. So if you aren't say you're not in a school district for whatever reason, or say you are in a school district, but the free reduced percentage isn't high enough, then you can also use census block group data. These are not things that you will have to determine. You can absolutely work with our office to do so. But I just kind of want to explain how the eligibility works. So if you're not using school data, then you must use Census Black Group data. And the USDA has a map that I will show you a little later on showing what basically where those eligible areas are based on that census data. So they look at a bunch of different things and determine areas of certain income level, and those areas are automatically eligible for summer sites. So between one of these two, obviously 83% of libraries are eligible, but depending on which one you will end up using is worked out with our office. Basically, whenever we get someone set up, we figure out the best, most advantageous way to use the data, and then we pick that one. So this is a map of all of the libraries in the state. No, that's not right. Oh my goodness, because there's one in Great Falls. Oh, the current ones. Sorry, the current ones that have sites. Yes. Goodness gracious. And so that kind of gives you an idea. There are a lot of awesome things going on at libraries and summer meals. Oh, so exciting. All right. So if you do decide to become a site, this is what the meal pattern looks like. So you can decide, you can serve up to 2 meals total. I would say most libraries serve just one, like usually just lunch, but it's whatever works for you. And there is essentially whatever you choose in terms of what meal you're going to serve, you just have to follow the meal pattern. And this kind of gives you a quick little rundown of what you have to serve students, essentially. We'll look at a couple profiles of libraries later on, and they typically partner with community organizations, because obviously a library, I mean, maybe it does, but typically there isn't a kitchen located on site, that is more than a staff kitchen, I should say. So a lot of times libraries will partner with community organizations and essentially work together to get those meals produced and then served by that community organization and then served at the library. So I'm not going to run through everything here on each meal pattern, but I just want to kind of point out that there are 4 meal components in summer. There's milk, which is its own component. I realize that that's a little confusing because it's just milk. But yes, milk is its own component. And then depending on the meal, you'll fruit and vegetable are combined, or either or kind of a thing. Then you've got your grains, and then your meat and meat alternate. So that's both traditional meat in the sense of meats, as well as things like eggs, cheese, yogurt, things like that. Just to kind of give you a very overview picture of the meal patterns. Okay, so now I mentioned that map earlier. I'm going to try to do this in a way that doesn't mess up my presentation, but we'll see. Cross your fingers. So this is the link to the map that the USDA creates, both of existing sites as well as site eligibility based on that census data I talked about. But mainly, I want you to look at this number right here. Oops. There we go. That's our office number. So if you feel like you want to start a site or you want to just find out more information, please call us. It's absolutely can seem very overwhelming to anyone who isn't already operating the program in terms of getting started, no matter whether that's a site or the sponsor. And we understand that. And so, this obviously this webinar is being recorded, but you might go away with questions that you think of later, or you realize, oh gosh, I think I remember this later and the webinar doesn't answer this question. Just please give us a call, because we absolutely, our mission is just to feed kids, basically. So we want to do that, however possible, and we absolutely are here for you. Okay, so I'm gonna have to exit, and then I'm gonna drag this over, I think. So hopefully you guys can all see this. It's pretty small part of my screen, but I'm hoping that this will suffice. So I zoomed in on Great Falls just because that's where I'm based. Basically, I just went to this link. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Summer Meal Sites in the Layers tab for 2018. And then look at that. Oh my gosh. Okay, Summer Meal Sites are already popping up. So obviously this is last year because site applications or sponsor applications aren't even technically due to us until May 1st. So this is all last year's data, but still, you get the point. So I clicked on summer meal sites to see existing sites, or existing, yes, sites, sorry, for you to kind of get an idea of what's going on where. And then I'm also going to scroll down here and I'm going to select children by census block group. Okay, so I'm clicking that fiscal year 19 number of free/reduced price eligible children 0 to 18 by census block group. Basically, that is talking about that census data that the USDA allows you to use other than the school data. Just forgive my map navigation here. So when I click on the legend, bear with me here, I see, you can see the number of eligible children is what kind of determines the colors, just as an idea. So, but I'm going to show you where you can just click anywhere and it will tell you whether or not it is eligible based on census data to be a summer site. So I'm going to click right, let's see, I'm just going to click right here. Okay, so it highlights where I clicked, what kind of block group that belongs to, and it tells me eligible fiscal year 19 based on census data. Nope, not eligible. And I can kind of tell that because it's lighter anyways, but if I'm looking at a specific location and I think, okay, let me just try, then it'll tell me exactly whether or not it is. So if I click over here, that's kind of like on a pitch again. Maybe let's click somewhere where there's actually like people conducting business. Okay, so if I click within this blue area, it tells me, yes, oh, it is eligible based on census data. So if you are kind of looking at your area, wherever that area happens to be, you can really explore, you know, what, where that census data determines eligibility, or just really the more simple kind of purpose of this map is to see, okay, so that we've got some sites. Okay, those sites are, you know, where summer was operated last year, and it'll kind of give you an idea both what's happening, you know, currently, as well as where needs might be. So you might think, oh gosh, okay, so there's not really any sites kind of over here in Black Eagle, the little town, you know, if you're not familiar with Great Falls, Black Eagle is just across the river. Technically a separate town, but really you don't like, it's all connected. There's no sites in Black Eagle though. My goodness, I know there's need. There's definitely need in Black Eagle. So it's like, it gives you an idea as well, you know, if your area has a lot of sites that are operating or not. So that is the USDA map. Let's go back to my presentation here. Oh goodness, maybe. Okay, now I'm going to switch. I appreciate all of your patience with my technological, here we go, abilities. Awesome. So becoming a site, yes, definitely take a look at that map, but also don't hesitate to call us. So libraries that are operating as sites in 2017. So this is 1 year prior, but still very useful data. There were 8 total libraries operating as sites, which doesn't, I mean, 8 might not sound like a big number, but to me that is so many. I mean, that's just so many who are, it's just amazing. I'm just so excited about this. We're going to take a quick little snapshot look at Missoula and Bozeman public libraries, but this gives you the whole list of you know, libraries operating SFSP sites across the state. Missoula, Bozeman, Helena, and Butte, all their public libraries are. And then we've got 2 school libraries, Drummond and Frenchtown, or sorry, 3, Drummond, Frenchtown, and Polson Middle School. And then the Coors Memorial Library in Deer Lodge. So there is, I think there's a good distribution location-wise. I guess there isn't too many there could be more in the east, but yes, okay. So looking at what a current public library is doing, just kind of wanted to give you guys a little snapshot on kind of how things look and you know, how it works in an actual you know, real life example. So the Missoula Public Library works with the Missoula Food Bank to they work under them in terms of sponsor, and the food bank takes care of food prep. So that's one huge advantage of working as a site underneath the umbrella of a sponsor, is that, you know, you can utilize their resources in terms of food preparation, distribution, all of the above. Let's see, they use food bank staff and volunteers to deliver and serve meals. They serve them indoors. It looks like they got a No Kid Hungry grant in 2016 for activities, which is a really great resource if and when you were to decide to run a site out of your library. There are funding kind of opportunities out there. No Kid Hungry is a great one. Let's see, just looking at 2015 to 2016, it looks like they served lunch both years, but they increased from serving 3 days a week to 5 days a week, which is amazing. They also went from having no activities and 25 kids per day average daily participation to having tons of amazing area community activities, and then having pushing that average daily participation up to 38. So, I mean, that's a huge jump in just a year. It looks like they really, got their feet under them and picked it up from 2015 to 2016. Not that they needed to. I mean, they were doing great regardless, just having a site, but they really did up their numbers kind of all around. So now that we kind of know how Missoula Public Library operates, I kind of want to show you Bozeman Public Library, which I know I believe 2016 was their, I hope I'm not wrong. I believe 2016 was their first year operating. I could be wrong. They also just served lunch. They also partnered with the food bank, basically becoming a site under the food bank's sponsor umbrella. And then they wonderfully served meals outside in front of the library. I know there's a big space out there. But also in their case, the Gallatin Valley Food Bank, they took care of meal prep and then also worked with volunteers for setup and service of meals and with library staff giving those activities. So that's absolutely wonderful. They operated 2 days a week. You can create your schedule, essentially, is kind of something that I want to reiterate. If a library chooses to become a site, you operate the days that you want to operate, and you operate the times that work for you. If you can set it up to be under a sponsor like the food bank, that's obviously wonderful in terms of taking care of where the meals will be prepared. But in terms of service, you can choose what works for your schedule, both, whether that's just other things going on at the library, or whether you just want to keep it lower to 2 days a week to start out, like the Missoula Food Bank did. Yes, you can kind of choose how and where you operate within your site, basically. All right. So option number 2, partnering with existing sites. Different than becoming your own site, slightly. If you just wanted to partner to start out, or of a good, or maybe use the map to see sites that are operating already, and you think, okay, so I don't know if we can make this work for us this year, but we want to partner. We've got a little fun fact here that you probably already know as librarians, but I didn't know this, that studies show that reading just 5 books over the summer helps drastically reduce summer stride, which makes perfect sense. But yes, so under this option, you can kind of carve your own path. If you want to partner with maybe a site that operates in a park and bring your bookmobile like the Missoula Public Library did, it's up to you in terms of what you want to do. But I think the main goal of partnering, obviously, is just bringing kids to both parties, whether it's you are helping to educate kids when they're getting their meal at a site, or you are helping to drive your traffic that comes to the library, helping drive that traffic to a site where they can get meals that maybe they don't know about. Bringing your bookmobile, just whatever, hosting activities. If you just want to kind of partner and just take care of the activity component and just do fun things with kids, a summer site, it obviously provides free meals for kids, which is obviously huge and like our main goal from my school nutrition program standpoint. But if you also want to take advantage of those kids who are going to these sites to eat these meals and post fun activities or outreach or whatever, that kind of, those are all things that you can do under this option, basically. Option number 3, becoming a sponsor. So one thing I just wanted to make sure everyone knew is that 16 Montana counties do not have a single summer site, which is really sad. I should have looked up how many total counties we have in Montana. I don't know, but I know that 16 counties not having a single site, there's kids in all of those counties, guaranteed, who don't have access to summer meals in their direct vicinity. They obviously can drive and travel and go to any summer site, but still, that is 16 counties where it's not within easy reach of kids in the summertime. So if you wanted to become a sponsor, you can obviously serve meals from your library, or if you wanted to have multiple sites, that is great. This is also an option to kind of be that umbrella, basically. There is still a need no matter what. And then this fourth option, helping us advertise. So we tried really hard to get the word out about summer meals, but we obviously still miss plenty of kids throughout the state. So, with if maybe families aren't already familiar with the summer food service program, they're just used to, school meals, lunch and breakfast. Everybody kind of knows about school meals, but a lot of people might not know about existing summer sites in their community, especially because they can be in such a wide variety of locations, at the library, at a pool, at the park. They might not be expecting or aware in any sense of finding free meals in their area. So one way that you can absolutely help is to help us advertise. And we've got this kind of flyer that's on the right side of the slide is the USDA's stock kind of summer flyer. It gives families can text summer meals to 97779, and it will tell them free meals in their area. That's an awesome tool that the USDA, I think they rolled it out last year, or maybe it's around longer than that. But I know plenty of people don't know about that feature if they don't, have any. They think, okay, so great, now I know that summer meals are being offered, but I don't know how to find them. That's something they can do, is text that number, or they can obviously go to Summer Food Rocks, which is on that same site that the map was on, and that will show them all the sites in their area as well. So if nothing else, we always appreciate help in advertising, regardless, because there are plenty of, there's no matter what, there's always a need. There's always people unaware. There's always people who maybe just moved to the area and they might know about summer meals, but they don't know where to find them or how to find them. So that's kind of your fourth option. And then finally, I knew I would go through this faster than I expected, but these are all the ways that you can contact us. This is the email of Camille McGovin, who is our assistant director. Emily Dunkley, who I mentioned at the beginning with her name on the slide. She was our summer food service program manager. So she was our summer warrior, and she was in charge of the program. She actually just took a job with the Department of Public Health and Human Services. So while we were so sad to see her go, we're so excited for her awesome opportunities in store at DPHHS. Really, yeah, she's got some awesome things slated there. But so in her stead this year, we've got, email-wise, you can email Camille. You can obviously go to our website, which is that opi.mt.gov/summerfood, and that kind of can give you all the basic information, or you can call our office. But I do want to open it up for questions right now. If I can get to where I can see, hang on. Get to where I can see the chat box.
There wasn't anything that came in.
Did you?
Yes, I typed in the map thing and put it in the chat box for people.
Yeah.
And I'll also include that
Perfect.
in the Vimeo description when we upload the recording.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Amelia. That is
Yeah, of
very
course.
handy for them to have. Yes. So if you can think of any questions, I am here. Amelia, I don't know what your guys' Vimeo setup typically is in terms of like posting webinars. You can feel free to post like the contact information
Okay,
anywhere you want
cool.
in terms of on that. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the setup looks like, but
Yeah.
so that if they don't click into it,
Hmm.
you can post it if you
Okay.
know what I mean.
And I was wondering also if we could have the PowerPoint, and I will also post
Yes.
that on our cool. So I will
Yes, I
send
meant to
that
tell you. Yes, I can.
information
Nice.
when I send the recording
Yes,
out as well.
I will absolutely email you the slides. Those are very nice to have. Um,
And Caroline, out of curiosity, do you know how many libraries are participating or are applying or potentially might be participating this year? I know you said applications weren't finished quite yet.
yeah, that's a really great question. I actually don't know who has thus far expressed, well, yeah, I don't know who sponsors have to fill out this application every year. So I'm hoping at a minimum there's 9 to continue or 8, sorry, 8. There will be 8 sponsor applications for our 8 current sponsors at
Mm-hmm.
least. But I don't know if we've gotten any interest from new, like not previously existing
Mm-hmm.
libraries as sites or sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually know. I was hoping to spread the word in the Great Falls area because I noticed that the Great Falls Public Library doesn't have a site right now. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know because we usually don't take any sort of snapshots or anything until that May 1st deadline, just because we know
That
that,
makes sense. Okay.
yeah, a
I'm just
lot. And
curious.
no, of course, yes, of course. I know that. I'll just say a lot of like a lot of us out there, a lot of sponsors will typically procrastinate till like that last couple days before. So it's mostly for our own good of like not panicking, like, oh, so and so hasn't, they're not applying this year,
Mm-hmm.
just because we know a lot of them get them at the last minute there. But a very good question because I really am curious
Mm-hmm.
for any new ones this year.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I might
I'm
check
sure we
in
will.
after May 1st just for my own, you know,
Yeah,
edification, just to see who is,
please do.
because this does sound like a really super cool program, and it's really awesome that you guys have so many partners and sites. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said earlier, Emily Dunkley really worked she had actually worked at the Montana Food Bank Network
mm-hmm.
previously to when she worked at before she worked for us, she worked for MFBN
Mm,
and through how like they obviously have Missoula Public Library under their sponsor site.
mm-hmm.
She just really worked really hard to create the network that we have and to really strengthen our, communication between the state and our, network of libraries throughout Montana. She really honestly single-handedly kind of created the great relationship that we now have, or that, that from our perspective that we have. And so yeah, so we're very happy with how libraries have been able to use the summer food service program in their communities to get meals to kids. Because often in so many communities, as you guys all know, but like I said, I'm not typically used to talking to librarians, but like the library is just the center of activity in so many ways for kids and for the community. And so it's a great way to kind of take existing like infrastructure in terms of community involvement and awareness and then kind of funnel free meals in there too. So it's a great opportunity in terms of just getting, free meals to kids. So we really appreciate everything that you guys do in general.
Awesome. Well, are there any other questions from our webinar attendees today? Is anyone thinking about the idea of applying? Just cogitating
Yes,
over
good.
it?
Yes, good question. Woo! Oh, I'm so happy.
Awesome, Dawn.
Oh, good. Thanks, Don. Yes, please don't hesitate to reach out to our office. we are absolutely here for you in terms of, working through getting things set up, if that's kind of the point where you decide that you want to be.
Cool.
The community
Kelsey
audit
says
and our
we
wanting to
have.
get the library involved and offer a space. Oh, nice.
Oh, that's
Kelsey, where are
great.
you located?
Kelsey, I believe,
Where
is
is
in
she?
the
Where?
Blaine County Library, which
Okay.
is in Chinook.
Oh, Chinook. Oh, nice. Good. I was gonna say because I have no idea where Blaine County is. Apologies.
I'm
Nice.
sorry.
See that? Yes, me too. I mean, still learning. We have this set up in the community already and are wanting to get the library involved and offer a space. Nice. So that's something where you can, you can kind of go a variety of different routes. You could, if you want to be able to be a site under a sponsor who already, like you said, already runs it in the community and, handles food preparation, you could absolutely provide a space for them to operate. That's totally, I'm so happy to hear that coming out of, I mean, in terms of like review area, Chinook's in my neck of the woods. I'm kind of in charge of like the High Line and Flash kind of, well, the High Line's probably the best kind of way to put it, but that whole northern area pretty much. So I'm happy to hear that in Chinook that you're thinking about that you're wanting to get the library involved.
Yeah, that is super cool.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, Caroline, for talking with us. I'd heard of this program before, but this is actually the first time for me to sit through this presentation and learn about the actual specifics. So that's really cool for me to know. Um, and
Yeah.
again, I will go ahead and stop